Give me a second, I need to get my story straight. My friends are in the bathroom, getting higher than the Empire State. My lover, she is waiting for me just across the bar. My seat's been taken by some sunglasses, asking about a scar. And I know I gave it to you months ago. I know you're trying to forget, but between the drinks and subtle things, the holes in my apologies, you know, I'm trying hard to take it back. So if by the time the bar closes and you feel like falling down, I'll carry you home tonight. So let's the time the bar closes and you feel like falling down, I'll carry you home tonight.
Of the class of '99, wear sunscreen. If I could offer you only one tip for the future, sunscreen would be it. The long-term benefits of sunscreen have been proved by scientists, whereas the rest of my advice has no basis more reliable than my own meandering experience. I will dispense this advice now. Enjoy the power and beauty of your youth. Oh, never mind. You will not understand the power and beauty of your youth until they've faded. But trust me, in 20 years, you'll look back at photos of yourself and recall in a way you can't grasp now how much possibility lay before you and how fabulous you really looked. You are not as fat as you imagine. Don't worry about the future, or worry, but know that worrying is as effective as trying to solve an algebra equation by chewing bubblegum. The real troubles in your life are apt to be things that never crossed your worried mind, the kind that blindsides you at 4 p.m. on some idle Tuesday. Do one thing every day that scares you. Sing. Don't be reckless with other people's hearts. Don't put up with people who are reckless with yours. Floss. Don't waste your time on jealousy. Sometimes you're ahead, sometimes you're behind. The race is long, and in the end, it's only with yourself. Remember compliments you receive. Forget the insults. If you succeed in doing this, tell me how. Keep your old love letters. Throw away your old bank statements. Stretch. Don't feel guilty if you don't know what you want to do with your life. The most interesting people I know didn't know at 22 what they wanted to do with their lives. Some of the most interesting 40-year-olds I know still don't. Get plenty of calcium. Be kind to your knees. You'll miss them when they're gone. Maybe you'll marry, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll have children, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll divorce at 40. Maybe you'll dance the funky chicken on your 75th wedding anniversary. Whatever you do, don't congratulate yourself too much, or berate yourself either. Your choices are half chance. So are everybody else's. Enjoy your body. Use it every way you can. Don't be afraid of it or what other people think of it. It's the greatest instrument you'll ever own. Dance. Even if you have nowhere to do it but in your own living room. Read the directions, even if you don't follow them. Do not read beauty magazines. They will only make you feel ugly. Get to know your parents. You never know when they'll be gone for good. Be nice to your siblings. They're your best link to your past and the people most likely to stick with you in the future. Understand that friends come and go, but with a precious few, you should hold on. Work hard to bridge the gaps in geography and lifestyle, because the older you get, the more you need the people you knew when you were young. Live in New York City once, but leave before it makes you hard. Live in Northern California once, but leave before it makes you soft. Travel. Accept certain inalienable truths. Prices will rise, politicians will philander, you too will get old. And when you do, you'll fantasize that when you were young, prices were reasonable, politicians were noble, and children respected their elders. Respect your elders. Don't expect anyone else to support you. Maybe you have a trust fund, maybe you'll have a wealthy spouse, but you never know when either one might run out. Don't mess too much with your hair, or by the time you're 40, it will look 85. Be careful whose advice you buy, but Be patient with those who supply it. Advice is a form of nostalgia. Dispensing it is a way of fishing the past from the disposal, wiping it off, painting over the ugly parts, and recycling it for more than it's worth. But trust me on the sunscreen.
And of course, I couldn't be prouder of all of you in the graduating class of 2020, as well as the teachers and the coaches, and most of all, parents and family who guided you along the way. Now, graduating is a big achievement under any circumstances. Some of you have had to overcome serious obstacles along the way, whether it was an illness or a parent losing a job or living in a neighborhood where people too often count you out. Along with the usual challenges of growing up, all of you have had to deal with the added pressures of social media, reports of school shootings, and the specter of climate change. And then, just as you're about to celebrate having made it through, just as you've been looking forward to proms and senior nights, graduation ceremonies, and let's face it, a whole bunch of parties, the world is turned upside down by a global pandemic. And as much as I'm sure you love your parents, I'll bet that being stuck at home with them and playing board games or watching Tiger King on TV is not exactly how you envisioned the last few months of your senior year. Now, I'll be honest with you. The disappointments of missing a live graduation, those will pass pretty quick. I don't remember much of my own high school graduation. I know that not having to sit there and listen to a commencement speaker isn't all that bad. Mine usually go on way too long. Also, not that many people look great in those caps, especially if you have big ears like me. And you'll have plenty of time to catch up with your friends once the immediate public health crisis is over. But what remains true is that your graduation marks your passage into adulthood, the time when you begin to take charge of your own life. It's when you get to decide what's important to you, the kind of career you want to pursue, who you want to build a family with, the values you want to live by. And given the current state of the world, that may be kind of scary. If you'd planned on going away for college, getting dropped off at campus in the fall, that's no longer a given. If you are planning to work while going to school, finding that first job is going to be tougher. Even families that are relatively well off are dealing with massive uncertainty. Those who were struggling before, they're hanging on by a thread. All of which means that you're going to have to grow up faster than some generations. This pandemic has shaken up the status quo and laid bare a lot of our country's deep-seated problems, from massive economic inequality to ongoing racial disparities to a lack of basic health care for people who need it. It's woken a lot of young people up to the fact that the old ways of doing things just don't work. That it doesn't matter how much money you make if everyone around you is hungry and sick. And that our society and our democracy only work when we think not just about ourselves, but about each other. It's also pulled the curtain back on another hard truth, something that we all have to eventually accept once our childhood comes to an end. You know, all those adults that you used to think were in charge and knew what they were doing, turns out they don't have all the answers. A lot of them aren't even asking the right questions. So if the world's going to get better, it's going to be up to you. That realization may be kind of intimidating, but I hope it's also inspiring. With all the challenges this country faces right now, nobody can tell you, no, you're too young to understand, or this is how it's always been done. Because with so much uncertainty, with everything suddenly up for grabs, this is your generation's world to shape. Since I'm one of the old guys, I won't tell you what to do with this power that rests in your hands, but I'll leave you with 3 quick pieces of advice. First, don't be afraid. America's gone through tough times before. Slavery, civil war, famine, disease, the Great Depression, and 9/11. And each time, we came out stronger. Usually because a new generation, young people like you, learned from past mistakes and figured out how to make things better. Second, do what you think is right. Doing what feels good, what's convenient, what's easy, that's how little kids think. Unfortunately, a lot of so-called grown-ups, including some with fancy titles and important jobs, still think that way, which is why things are so screwed up. I hope that instead you decide to ground yourself in values that last, like honesty, hard work, responsibility, fairness, generosity, respect for others. You won't get it right every time. You'll make mistakes like we all do. But if you listen to the truth that's inside yourself, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, people will notice. They'll gravitate towards you. And you'll be part of the solution instead of part of the problem. And finally, build a community. No one does big things by themselves. Right now, when people are scared, it's easy to be cynical and say, let me just look out for myself, or my family, or people who look or think or pray like me. But if we're going to get through these difficult times, if we're going to create a world where everybody has opportunity to find a job and afford college, if we're going to save the environment and defeat future pandemics, then we're going to have to do it together. So be alive to one another's struggles. Stand up for one another's rights. Leave behind all the old ways of thinking that divide us. Sexism, racial prejudice, status, greed. And set the world on a different path.
I came in for the fall of 76. By April 1st, 1977, I'm being called in by the bosses and told that I am no longer going to be needed on the news. I thought it was an April Fool's joke. Anyway, I get demoted. I am humiliated. I am embarrassed. I know that they are waiting to fire me. What they did was, instead of firing me, put me on the local talk show. And the day I did my first talk show, I felt like I had come home to myself. I believe that failure is an opportunity to move yourself in a different direction. It gets better because you learn the lessons from the first time.
The person on Mr. Krasinski's show before you, their question was answered by Oprah.
Wow.
So I think it's clear sometimes in life you're going to get the short end of the stick. You're about to enter into a world where, no one's grading you. There's none of those things that are going to be going on. Stop completing things and start living them.
Wow. One of the things this moment is teaching us is that truly anything is possible. It will be imagination and innovation that gets us all to the other side. I know this is the time of huge loss, but it's also a chance to dream big about our futures together. And your generation has something important to say about making that a better future for all of us.
Malala, I thought maybe you could also talk to Meklit, because I don't think many people know you don't get to graduate either.
No, I don't. Unfortunately, 2020 wasn't our year.
Yeah.
And a lot of students, their graduation ceremonies are not happening, but we are not going to give up. We're going to celebrate it in any way possible.
I agree.
Or on an internet show. You can also celebrate.
One of my greatest poet mentor friends, a woman who became a mother sister to me, Maya Angelou, used to say to me all the time, baby, God put a rainbow in the clouds. And this is true, Amanda. There have been many times when you're on the ground and you're going to fly somewhere. This is my favorite moment in life, that when it's really dark and dreary on the ground, and then you get in the plane, and within 3 minutes you shoot above the clouds and you see the sun was always there.
Amanda, it's your average Friday when Oprah's quoting Maya Angelou and telling you that the sun is still shining up above the clouds. Get out of here.
How, other than getting out there and going for it, like, what now?
What did you just say? Other than what?
Getting out there and going for it.
Oh my God, John. You just answered your own question.
Ben, when you do something that's really personal to you, it means so much more than other things you do that are in betweeners. When you finally hit on something that really means something to you, that's something that stays with you the rest of your life.
What would you say to like young girls who are missing out their graduation ceremonies or need a positive message to aspire for their dreams?
I'll say it's all about perspective. Like, even though we don't get to graduate, but we're still safe. And that's not something everyone can say out in the world,
You have no idea what's about to come at you. And man, isn't that the beautiful part of it? The one piece of advice I would give you is embrace that. You are now looking upon the horizon, the roads forking, and you think to yourself, this is a world filled with possibility. And I am steeled and ready for the challenge that lay before me. Now what? I am the captain of my own ship, and I will write this story.
I can't wait to read your work, to see your work, to feel your work, to know that the dream that your ancestors held for you, that you now carry that dream forward in such a way that you wear the crown that they made for you.
Thank you.
Learn from each opportunity that you have. Let no opportunity be too small for your time, and let no opportunity be too big for your possibilities.
Thank you guys both for doing this. I'm so glad you guys got to meet. This is your year. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Stephen. It means a lot.
March on. March on.
I've got a good feeling about you, friend. You're going to do well.
Happy graduation!
Happy graduation!
Yeah.
Woo! Class of 2020, by the power vested in me by no one, congratulations, you have officially graduated. There you go.